Rent. All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Give Me Rent podcast. Happy October, everyone, and happy October, Dylan.
Thanks,
This is
buddy.
Noah. I'm joined by Dylan.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy we're doing a Halloween-esque episode. It's
No. So the reason I'm saying happy October is we wanted to delve into some horror things, and specifically for this episode, we're going to delve into horror icons. And
yeah,
we wanted to at least first kind of delve into what current horror icons there are. And obviously, we're going to go back into the past. There's a lot of icons from, of course, the 80s.
We'll
the
talk
90s.
about the big, like especially like the Mount Rushmore of the icons.
Yes.
Everyone's got their own, but there's definitely at least, you have to have the few big ones in there. But for modern, we've really been thinking about this lately. Like, it's kind of hard thinking about it. Like,
Well, picking that Mount
Yeah.
Rushmore of modern horror
Yeah.
is so hard, especially when
and
you
when we
look
say
at,
modern, what are we saying? Like 2000s to current or 2010 to current?
I'm going
kind
to
of?
count. Let's start with trying to delve into 2010 to 2025.
Yeah,
Because there's been a lot,
too.
and obviously horror is more, I wouldn't say more relevant than ever, but it's extremely relevant right now. There's a lot of different, obviously, subgenres within this genre. There's icons that come from slasher movies. There's icons that come from, supernatural films.
Yeah.
We've had plenty of different horror movies in the last 15 years, so I think we can get down to four of, the
let's talk about it.
icons of that. One interesting thing, though, I will, before we delve into it, though, is like a lot of these movies, a lot of the really big ones that I think of, like my favorite horror movie since I'd say 2010, probably Hereditary.
Mm-hmm.
And it's tough to, there's no really straight
Yeah,
villain
like,
of that film.
I'm not gonna say anyone
But,
that's an
we're gonna-
icon.
we're gonna
there's
delve
some,
into-
some big characters in it and some good
Yes,
characters in it,
exactly.
but I wouldn't necessarily call them icons.
Of course.
You know.
So we're going to delve into icons, like the Michael Myers, the Freddy Kruegers of today.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
if there really are any. I think there's a few that I have at the top of my head, but
Well, right off the bat, it's definitely timely for this video, but we saw the Black Phone 2 last night, and I would say The Grabber is kind of up there for at least modern horror slasher,
Well, I think
slasher villains.
It was pretty surprising how big the Black Phone got in
yeah,
2019.
it was. I mean, it was huge.
And it was I was pleasantly surprised with that movie. I think an interesting thing about the Black Phone is that you have the great horror villain in The Grabber with Ethan Hawke, but I think with this franchise, really taken back with how it kind of balances what's going on, because The Grabber, he's a child murderer. The movies definitely balance that pretty well with kind of some optimism, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
But the reason I'm mentioning that, obviously, it doesn't really have much to do with The Grabber himself, but when I was watching Black Phone 2 the other day, which I definitely thoroughly enjoyed, even though it copied a lot of, famous horror movies from the past. But, when you're doing, The Grabber again, and also kind of presenting him in a different way than he was in the first movie, like, it kind of added, I mean, we got a lot of iconic imagery of him in this film.
Yeah, I mean, speaking just briefly about Black Phone 2, the biggest thing I appreciate about it is that it's nothing like the first movie.
Well, yeah, but like the first movie, just to finish my thought from what I was saying, I kind of got lost it for a sec, but it balances a nice sort of levity with the kids.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
whenever the Grabber, which
There's
I
some
would
good
say
levity
he's
moments.
pretty limited in screen time in these two films.
Yeah.
But whenever he shows up, because it has that, it's kind of just juxtapositioning like against that, the light of the movies, the kids.
Yeah.
He brought a lot to this role. There is like clearly he taps into something so dark when he's playing this. Obviously, with a character like the Grabber, you have to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought really effective whenever he was.
It's
on
very
screen.
clear that Scott Derrickson, the director, has a really good relationship with Ethan Hawke.
Yeah, that's for
He
sure.
brought him over from Sinister 2, which is another great modern horror movie. But yeah, I mean, Black Phone, I think he did an excellent job making him the villain for once, which I feel like it's
Well, yeah, it's
somewhat
such
rare for Ethan Hawke to see him as someone this evil. Is
Yeah.
very rare to see Ethan Hawke play someone like that.
I mean, as dark as it is, I will say it's kind of nice to see another horror villain that it's just evil.
He's
like,
just evil,
straight. There's nothing redeeming about this guy,
Mm-hmm.
and it's great because I personally I love Ethan Hawke and pretty much everything he does. Seeing this was just crazy turn for him, and I think I agree. I would put him on the Mount Rushmore for the past 15 years.
Yeah, I mean, we can get there's the clear standout.
There's
Let's be
okay.
real.
Yeah, we could go to the number one, who's obviously going to get it next because it's going to go to Art the Clown.
Yeah.
And listen, we're not on this channel. I think you agree with me. We're not the biggest
we're not the biggest
Terrifier fans. But I am a big fan of what Damien Leone has been able to capture with that. There's a huge following around Art for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really my thing, and I've seen the whole first movie of Terrifier and a decent amount of the second one, so I can't say I've seen the entire thing. But obviously, I know what they're going for with these movies.
Mm-hmm.
Art he carries the films, obviously. Like,
To say that these movies are an acquired taste is an understatement.
Yes.
Like, you have to be. It is a very, very, very small amount of people that not small. There's people that enjoy this, but like you have to enjoy this for what it is. And if you don't buy into what Terrifier is selling, you're not gonna like Terrifier. It's as simple as that.
About with art, obviously, today's day and age, it's different for how media is consumed and how we look at these icons. It's just straight up, but you know that art is one of the icons because of how relevant he still really is outside
the
of
dude
even
just
these
showed up in
films.
Fortnite. Also, the Grabber just showed up, and both those characters are now in Fortnite.
But
It's
having
wild.
seen, the Grabber's already something that I would never think would get collaborations with something because of the subject matter.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Terrifier takes this to the next level. What is seen in these films is so intense that like you would think that they could never even get anywhere near like a collaboration with a video game or something like that. Mm-hmm. But with I guess Art himself is
I want to attribute it to the way that he was able to break the zeitgeist a little bit here. I mean, think about how quick it happened where Art just became iconic. Like, it was so fast.
It wasn't, because Terrifier 1 was, 2016?
I mean, you don't think that's fast?
I guess it's pretty fast. I think I'd say Art really got extremely, extremely popular after the second film. That's for sure.
I think the second one is where he, truly became mainstream, and yes, you were correct. It was 2016 for the first one. But yeah,
9 years already. That's crazy.
Now there's 3 of them, and it's they're, and I don't think they ain't stopping. Like, he's here to stay.
No, sure. I do actually believe they are finishing the series with the next film.
So 4,
but it will actually delve into who Art is and what he is. It's finally going to explain that. So for better or for worse, we're going to learn a lot more about what this thing is.
Is that
Art really
not
is.
typically the death of horror franchises? So think about when they explain to us how Freddy became Freddy.
Well,
that
I'd
just
say
ruined
yes,
it.
but then again, I guess I was pleasantly surprised with how they did it in Black Phone 2.
I guess that's fair.
Where it does retcon something from the original film. I'm not going to delve into what that was, but something that we, learned in the first movie, we learned a lot more about in this one. It changed our perspective
it's expanded on in a way where it's like, wow, like there's no way they had that in mind in the first one, but it wasn't necessarily bad. I think,
but
it worked for the story.
I thought decently. I didn't hate it for what it was, and I will say, delving into the Grabber himself and his first kills was a very interesting way to take the story. Obviously, when you're doing a sequel to something that kind of like a lot of people didn't think it needed a sequel, us included, but I will say for it being, I expected a very cheap horror sequel,
Yeah.
But for what it was was pretty enjoyable.
No, and like I said before, it's nothing like that original movie. So
they definitely
worth
swung
a
for
watch
something
right there.
different.
It's not like they're just recapturing the beats from the first one, which a lot of horror sequels do.
Yeah.
This is an entirely new story that uses stuff from the first movie that should have definitely been expanded upon in the second one, and I really like it. I think it actually it does something really smart by who it really puts in its protagonist role. Without doing any spoilers, I'll just say that. I really
agreed. Yeah, it was
smart.
It was handled differently from the first film, and I was pleasantly surprised with how they did it. Obviously, the Grabber being pretty much like Freddy was a little weird, but it wasn't fully like that. So it didn't fully elaborate again with what he could really do at the same time. But I will say, that third.
It was incredibly vague how he was able to do anything. But
the Grabber and what he was doing, at least in the third act, was effective, at least for me.
Oh yeah, the whole third act of Black Phone.
His look too. Like, I'm not going to spoil exactly how they presented the Grabber, but it was different. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, I agree. The whole aesthetic for the whole movie is cool.
And that was actually, that was a Blumhouse film that, they don't release the greatest things, but they've definitely had some hits, especially since 2010. Is there any other, horror villains from Blumhouse specifically you think would make this Mount Rushmore, or anyone who just deserves to be mentioned?
Well, there's one that I think just needs to be up here. He's not a Blumhouse character, but I think he needs to be up here. And then I believe, honestly, our fourth pick can be pretty interchangeable after that.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say I think he stands in the list of 90s horror icons as well. Completely different performance. But you got to mention Pennywise, dude. Like, he is the icon for right now. Pennywise really was able...
especially with them bringing him back and keeping... There's
a whole new series coming out now.
I personally
He's so
never
popular.
thought we'd see Skarsgård again in the role, especially after what I personally thought was kind of a blunder at Chapter 2.
I think Chapter 2 is a terrible movie.
Yeah.
But that being said, if we're just objectively looking at these characters, there's no denying Pennywise is maybe the most popular one.
I mean,
right up there
obviously,
with Art,
one
for
of
sure.
the standouts, what made it iconic. I mean, the first movie I enjoyed a decent amount.
It's something about clowns, man.
It's the performance, from Skarsgård that was truly the standout of the It films. But yeah, I mean, you're right. Clowns are just creepy, and the It movies themselves obviously really play with that. And I think I'm trying to think of the first. Okay, of course, the first time you see him is the Georgie scene. It's just such a great introduction, which it's iconic, and I think that lends to him being one of the icons of today.
For sure.
And yeah, you can't not compare this to Tim Curry.
Yeah.
From the 90s, but
It's funny. I'd probably put on my 90s Mount Rushmore would probably be Tim Curry's Pennywise.
Really.
Well, let's think about it right now.
As much as I love Tim Curry and what he did with the role,
obviously it's Ghostface, and then it's
I'll talk about that. We'll get to there in a bit. Let's finish the Rushmore for Curry. The only thing I was pointing out was the fact that it's weird when you're comparing the It stuff where the performances are both great, but one's a movie series and one's a television, just TV movies made for TV, 2 episodes. Which obviously Curry is the reason those are iconic as well, but
for sure.
I'd rather rewatch the
talk
films.
about right now Pennywise, even more so than I think Curry did. He really was able to speak to a wide range of people. I mean, it became one of the most popular horror movies of the last 20 years.
Also, I just want to mention, even though it's rated R, great intro horror for people.
Yeah, I agree.
It Chapter 1 isn't the most, terrifying.
Well, I remember when we first saw it, Chapter 1, we were honestly shocked of how not scary it was. I mean, I would say it's a scary movie. I'm not going to sit here and be it's rainbows and flowers the whole time, but it's not going to... it might give you some nightmares, but it's not going to keep you up for months. I mean, Pennywise is effective and he's a great character, but yeah.
It's really also due to just the humor. Even just in current horror now, there's always just... Yeah. I wouldn't say an overabundance of humor, but a lot of these films, they like utilizing decent amount of humor. We haven't gotten a lot of horror movies that are just straight depressing the whole time.
Modern horror, I feel like a lot of these filmmakers, I mean, look at especially some of the bigger names like Peele and tons of people, and Kreger, they really like inserting humor into their films, which isn't a problem necessarily. But I'm just saying, if the big ones there, which are kind of the standard where people are watching and saying these are the main horror movies, they all have a little bit of humor in there, and a lot of levity scenes. And I think a lot of people it's rubbing off on a lot of people, and a lot of filmmakers are putting that in their movies now, which is fine. I'm not here to say every horror movie has to be depressing, but not everyone has to be lighthearted either. Yeah,
it's not like we don't completely see. There's outliers where we got, Bring Her Back this year comes to mind, and Hereditary, obviously, like I mentioned, there's no fun in there.
Yeah.
But I'd say the more, I guess, the majority of horror films.
Let's just talk about 2025 right now. Think about the main horror movies of this year. They all have a good amount of humor. Weapons, Sinners, Together.
Sinners is a little different, so I don't even know if it's just a different type movie.
That's true. I mean, I guess if you're not looking at Sinner as pure horror, but think about what my favorite horror movie of the year is, Weapons. There's a lot of humor in that. A lot of humor in that movie.
Yeah.
Which again, not saying that as a problem, but I'm saying if the main horror movies of the year that everyone's eyes are on has a lot of humor in it, that's going to rub off on future films.
I mean, it definitely, for a lot of people, some people thought Weapons, not me personally, but I talked to a few people about it, they thought it delved into too much of goofiness by the third act.
Yeah.
Which, there's a moment in that film where, you got a lot of moments of levity leading up to that act, and it's kind of just a jump into a little bit of absurdity.
For sure.
And I personally, I'm not going to lie, I kind of loved it.
Yeah, no, again, this isn't me a gripe. I'm just saying if the main ones are all going to be like that, it's going to rub off on everyone else.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's a problem. Those are good. Those are great movies. Weapons is my favorite horror movie of the year.
Do you think Gladys,
but,
especially with her possibly getting, Gladys, the villain of Weapons, do you think she could eventually be seen as an icon?
I was going to say Gladys is a great modern horror character, but I wouldn't say she's an icon just yet because, there's just not enough...
But you do see that the studio sees, or Warner Bros. sees
that potential.
Sees the potential because they want a Gladys movie to come.
She's one of my favorite horror villains we've had in modern years, no doubt.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily...
Remick included. I loved Remick and Sinners
was
this
a
year,
great
but
exactly.
Sinners is not... It's still horror. It's horror.
Sinners is a lot of genres.
Feels
I'll say that. It would be tough to not call it a horror. It is definitely has a lot of horror elements in it. But yeah, it's also drama. It's also an action movie. There's a lot going
Yeah.
on in there. It's also a historical drama, a historical period piece. Like there's a ton going on.
Yeah, I
in
just
there.
felt like before we finished the Mount Rushmore of current, like, yeah, I can't put Remick and Gladys there, but they definitely deserve the honorable mentions just because of how strong
Well,
their
again,
one
what
movie was.
what I was saying before, I feel like the fourth spot for both is pretty interchangeable because I really do think, the three that really deserve to be on there is Grabber, Art, and then of course Pennywise. So it's like four. I
like,
think
do you
can-
think it would go to like something like Megan?
Like no, because that's like too. I feel like Megan is too specific. We're just like not. She's not. I wouldn't say Art is even universally loved, but at least everyone understands his iconicness. You know.
Yeah,
you kinda
I'd
know
say
what I mean when I
there
say
is a
that?
lot of love for Art though.
Yeah.
And I mean, Megan, when it came out, was definitely kind of a sleeper hit. Like she was, but not as much as any of these other icons we're talking about. I also think of, from Blumhouse, I do think of their Halloween movies, but Michael's not an icon of today, especially with how
Michael
that
is
played
one of
out.
the icons of all time. Which
Yes.
honestly, maybe we'll talk about that big Mount Rushmore at the end. I would like to talk '90s Mount Rushmore and then eventually get into her. We'll get there, but yeah, let's wrap up this modern one. I really think you could pick it. You can pick. It kind of comes down to preference.
I mean, I'm trying to really think about like who is like actually been introduced in the last 15 years that like really, really deserves to be. Because another one
Let's
of,
actually be real. It's Pearl. I mean, it is Pearl.
I was about to get there, but
Entire trilogy of films around her, and like X is really effective at having you got old Pearl, also played by Mia Goth, and then you have Mia Goth do it again in the second, which I thought was even better than X. So I actually personally I'd probably throw Pearl up there. I actually think she's great and different, something we don't normally see.
I think something that I was going to mention just before you mentioned Pearl, which is a good pick. I was thinking maybe just something more entity-like, where it's like you got the Badabook, and you have even kind of the entity from It Follows in a way, where it's like, yeah, it does take different people.
Well, this is why I said
it's good
yeah,
horror.
this is why I say it's interchangeable because
Yeah.
it's like it's just coming down to preference. Now it's like I love the entity of It Follows. I'd love them to be up there.
But it's not iconic as like.
I think some iconicness. I'd have to go with Pearl.
I think you got to go with her just off the fact that she got the trilogy. Like,
Yeah,
or
exactly.
I haven't seen the last.
Well,
one of
the last
trilogy,
one has
but
nothing. Well, no, I wouldn't
Yeah.
say nothing to do with Pearl, but she's not in that. Third
There still is a trilogy in that universe. There's more than one film, and yet you're right, because she got that direct, prequel to the first film.
Mm-hmm.
She definitely became more iconic than people really, foresaw. I guess after the first movie, it's a little because we didn't know what the plans were.
Yeah.
So I think how Ty West decided to do it. Yeah, it did kind of give some iconic status to Pearl.
No doubt.
And her film, I will say, might be just as good as X. It was a pretty.
No, I like Pearl more than X.
Yeah,
it's great.
It was a pretty solid follow-up.
Okay, so our four for modern would be the Grabber, Art the Clown, Pennywise, and then Pearl. You're cool with that?
Yeah, I think that sounds pretty solid. I know there's a few, like one or two that could be interchangeable for some people. Megan could maybe make it up there. A few supernatural entities could maybe do it. But I think,
And if you want to put Charlie from Hereditary up there too, because I do think Charlie has some iconicness to her. But yes,
yeah, obviously, if we could delve into this further, and really it could change. But I think these are a solid four that do kind of help or accurately represent, icons of horror right now and what people really love from horror right now. It's kind of interesting because all four of these are from, pretty different films. So I like that because obviously if you go back to like the 80s and 90s, a lot of these people, or a lot of the people that could be on Mount Rushmores are pretty
Well, I was
similar
saying literally the
slashers.
90s alone, I feel like was its own vibe where you can do your own kind of Mount Rushmore for just the 90s. I don't know what yours would be, but I feel like
Well,
it'd be pretty
what would
similar.
your four be for the 90s?
Right now, I could rip it right now. I feel like the four for the 90s, Ghostface has got to be up there.
He's number one.
He's probably number one.
Yeah.
And then I would probably go Tim Curry's Pennywise just because of how much, at least for my childhood, how much he affected it.
Well, I think maybe, and I'm sure this is on your list, but I'd feel like Hannibal Lecter probably over
Yes,
that.
Hannibal Lecter was actually my next
yeah,
pick.
Yeah, that seems
And
like
then,
the...
lastly, I'm picking Candyman just because of the sequels and,
Okay,
and the
okay.
amount of iconicness that I think he brought to the 90s. But I also want to do a small shout out towards the end of the 90s. But the Blair Witch, for an off-screen character, one of the best. I would just say that.
Yeah, I will say that,
Very effective,
it is. Because, that's...
especially at the time.
Yeah, we can't count something you don't see, but I will say, like, pretty good antagonist in a way because of
Oh, yeah.
how that movie plays out.
You feel that presence.
Okay, but the 90s, it's kind of interesting that the 90s as well have very different picks there, that each icon is very much from different subgenre within horror. Especially, Silence of the Lambs, it's very thriller and not a lot of,
It's tough.
straight...
It's tough to really put it.
But I'm
into
still going to
horror.
count them.
But when you look at the whole franchise stuff, it's too much like actual scary elements to say that it definitely delves into horror.
Yeah, 100%. I'm saying Hannibal definitely is counted.
We're dealing with cannibals.
Obviously a character that is, would be associated with, like, this season,
Yeah,
It would be a horror villain. I definitely agree. I'm just pointing that out.
Now I think it's time for us to, or at least maybe either agree or potentially start fighting a little bit here, because we're going to pick our 4 horror icons of all time here. This is the
we're not going to just go back to
all-timers.
the 80s because, listen, there's obvious choices. We're going to try to make a little bit of a different list. But what would your number 1 be? I think we agree on this.
We might agree on number 1. My number 1 is Michael Myers. And obviously, I'm a little biased here. Halloween is my favorite movie of all time, or at least in my top
Well, let's make
3.
it fun because, listen, I got to point out he's my pick as well. Mm-hmm. But let's make 4 different ones, that we'll each pick, you'll pick Michael first.
I'm sorry.
And
Okay,
which is
I'm
fine.
choosing them.
I lost Michael, the GOAT.
Yeah, all right. If we have to do different ones, we'll do different ones here.
But
So I'm going to go with Michael.
I would jump to, and this isn't even exactly a reflection of how I feel about the films, but just the iconicness of this character and how, he's been in even more than the films. He's done so much of being this character, just even in public appearances, which is just wild.
Yeah.
Robert Englund's Freddy Krueger
Yeah.
just always comes to my mind when I'm thinking of this, because he's played him even differently, which is crazy. In New Nightmare, he's had, a TV series.
Yeah.
He's played him, very seriously, but also very, very comedically. You have a whole range of it, but I personally think, when I think of the character, I jump to, Freddy that is a little bit quippy, but also still keeps that seriousness. I jump immediately to Nightmare 3.
Yeah, I was about to say
I
Dream
think that's the
Warrior.
perfect
Yeah,
representation of why he became iconic.
Yeah.
Because yes, I rewatched 1, 2, and 3 recently, and the first movie, which I actually rewatched in theaters, which was awesome, but it's a very goofy movie.
Oh,
But
no doubt.
funny enough, he's one of the most serious he is in that one.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a weird.
But
like,
they saw how comedic he could be.
yes.
You know,
You get
it still
your-
has the
the
hints.
few one-liners you get of Freddy in the first are really non-existent in the second, which is wild.
Yeah, he's very
And then you
serious
jump
in that
back
one.
to the third, and they finally got it.
Yeah.
The perfect mix of pretty much Freddy from 1 and 2, because they, for some reason, they decided to go darker at first, which didn't work. Mm-hmm. They brought it back. They understood, exactly what can make this character.
Yeah,
fit,
I
why
got it.
people are fascinated.
I don't know if
with
this is
him.
what you're saying, but
They
I
did it
kind of.
perfectly.
I don't know if I'm agreeing with you here, but yeah, I don't really like watching Nightmare 2. I don't really like.
Well, I think it's definitely a black sheep in the franchise.
It's interesting.
Those who know
For sure.
about it, its production, really what the story is, they understand
Yes.
it more. I will say, I kind of do like the Dark Freddy in it. Like, it didn't work, but I like watching it sometimes because it is a very different.
Oh, definitely a clear
interpretation.
outlier in the franchise.
Oh
no
yeah,
doubt.
it doesn't even make sense with like the lore or anything.
It has nothing.
It's
Yeah,
just
the
a
story doesn't
black
make any
sheep.
sense.
But yeah, I think my first pick would be Freddy. I love what Robert Englund did with the character. Can't say the same about Jackie Earle Haley, but I will say there was potential there. I will admit, I want to see this character come back, and obviously Robert Englund is not going to play him again.
Yeah.
So I will say I'm not opposed to even Jackie Earle Haley getting another shot with a slightly different interpretation, or bringing him back as someone else. Because I know even Englund, he's got a few picks for who he would want to see
That's right.
take over the role. And
We were talking
I'm all
about this the
for
other day.
him coming
I
back.
do not think Jackie Earle Haley was a bad choice.
It's more the movie.
It's
and
the script and the movie that was bad. So I don't think they're going to give him another shot just because, yeah, he was just in that bad
But
one.
yeah, but it sucks because of that film, and thankfully you can say
we
they're
haven't been
making-
back to that franchise
They're
in quite a
making another
while.
Friday the 13th thing, thankfully,
Yeah.
but Nightmare we haven't even seen. I mean, we've seen it. We saw Friday the 13th 2009.
Well, I think
Nightmare,
more than
2010.
anyone, especially because
minute.
of the grandiose and like he is a horror villain that talks a lot.
Yeah.
Think about the other ones; they don't really talk. Ghostface, he has the same voice, so
Well, I
it
think,
works.
Yeah, it's
But you can't really recast Freddy Krueger is
they
the problem.
weren't too serious with the reboot, but if you find a fine line of that mixed with him from Nightmare 3, where yes, he's still pretty like get rid of any of the creepiness, like of not just straight child murder, like all that other stuff. I'm not going to delve into. What they did with that was disgusting and wrong, and just kind of took away the fun of the character.
Yeah.
That's why also Jackie Earle Haley was kind of just he couldn't do anything there. Like it's just how they chose to present him was too dark. And again, this is a child murderer, but like you need. It's weird as it is to say, you need to find the fun in this killer, and
Well, you need to
hopefully
find
we
a fun
see
in the
him again.
concept again. This is someone who kills people
Exactly.
in dreams. Like,
Well, yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
But I'm just saying, with introducing this character again, you have to find again. And I think the grabber is a good representation of how you could do it. Is like you have this subject matter that's really dark, but you can find a fine line and moments of levity that make it work.
Yeah.
And I think Freddy Krueger is the perfect horror villain, honestly, to bring back right now. Where, yeah, you're not rooting for him, but he is very fun to watch, and obviously very fun to watch get killed by the end of it as well.
Yeah, no doubt. If
Go ahead, no,
if we're going down the line, I
we're
think
going
you're just
down
gonna
the
get mad.
line for
You're gonna
Freddy,
get
but
mad
you
at
need
me.
to mention- No, but
You
let's,
gave me the first pick. I didn't even ask for it.
no. That's fine. I'm just saying we went down a little rabbit hole with Freddy, but he needed to be mentioned. He's the GOAT, and I think if you want to say anything about Michael, like what really
Well, Michael
makes
to me,
him the best for you?
the reason that movie is one of my favorite movies of all time is truly in the simplicity of it all.
Yeah.
I mean, he not to say he was the first slasher. Let's be real. Give some credit to Black Christmas. That definitely became before.
There were
Halloween.
multiple
There were
slashers
multiple
before
slashers
it.
before Halloween, but like big one definitely.
But there's
Black
a
Christmas.
reason it's
But
called the original. There's a
Yeah.
reason that it has this
Carpenter
legacy that's been
really
built up
tapped
behind it.
into just Americans' fears about just turning a corner in your house. Literally, something as simplistic about that. What could be scary about a bump in the night or something you don't know, and something. And he just created so much in such little things. I really think that the story of Halloween is so simple, but he makes it this kind of folk tale. It could happen in an American setting.
Yeah, I think
And
that's
it just works so well. It's so simple, but it works so well.
Well, I think you're right. I think the reason it worked so well when it came out is because his choice to put it in just a normal
Suburban town,
neighborhood.
suburban neighborhood where
And I
anyone
think,
could
yeah,
live.
Especially just I have to bring up the fact that this is another villain that was rebooted so poorly.
Yeah.
Because again, they didn't understand what really made him tick. Think about the opening scene of Halloween. You know, you see a little boy murder his sister, which is just at the time it was just so shocking. The reveal of his parents pulling the mask off his face, revealing that it's a young boy that did that. And of course, the scene's a little outdated, a little awkward when you rewatch it, but I don't think it's so perfectly done in a way where like it lingers on and it makes you think about that.
Yeah.
The fact that it was a boy, there is no rhyme or reason why he did this.
Well, we were rewatching Halloween as I always do during this season, and someone we were watching with started laughing because kind of like it's a still shot of them just staring at Michael.
Yeah.
But you got to think about the filmmaking at the time. That was ridiculously that worked so well. That was
does.
so effective because Carpenter, I guarantee, he gave the direction on set. Stay still, stand there, just stare at him. Don't react. Because that shot will be so
It'll do
effective.
enough.
That a single shot will be so effective. The audience will know exactly what I'm trying to say here.
Yep.
And it does. It's to this day is so effective to me. I love that shot.
And you're right. Like I think with Rob Zombie's take on Michael Myers, and like I don't view that as really the shape because it's just so off. And immediately you get the introduction of this terrible family that yes, this is the reason that this boy becomes the way that he does, and also even. You know, I'm not even going to delve into zombie stuff because his stuff is just disgusting. I'm sorry.
oh, yeah. When I say Michael is the horror icon, we're forgetting about Rob Zombie's Michael. It doesn't count.
That version is just, it's very interesting and it's its own thing. But it's not Michael Myers.
Exactly.
That's what I'll say.
You could like
And
it, but it's not Michael.
And, you know, giving an explanation for why he is the way he is just completely demystifies the character.
Yeah.
And it's just the reason the films don't work. And listen, I think there is some merit within Rob Zombie's stuff, even though I don't love how in the first movie he does a whole backstory, then just redoes the first movie.
Yeah.
Which I don't think I think he wanted to do a whole movie just in the backstory. I think that's what the original idea was.
I've talked to so many people.
And that's just so wrong.
No, I agree.
Why
It's
why
not.
is that even the direction you'd want to go with him?
I agree. He's supposed to be. Again, I keep saying the word simplistic,
just
but he's
evil.
supposed to be
He's
simplistic.
just
Exactly. He's
pure
supposed to be simplistic, just purely that. And so many people find it interesting that I say Halloween's my favorite movie. There are people who be like, it's dated, yada. Sure, it's a dated movie.
Still one of the most
But does
effective
that
slashers
idea
today.
is that idea still not carry on till today, and it's still just like incredibly effective?
Yeah.
100%. It's great.
I think before we move on from Michael, we went down another rabbit hole, but these are our number
We're going
ones.
down rabbit holes. We're talking
These
about
are
our
our number
icons.
ones. No,
Michael's
these
an
are our
icon.
number ones. So we have to speak, and I can't not mention the recent trilogy of Halloween.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to delve into ends, and I'm not going to delve into kills because they lost it. They lost the vision, and really, honestly, there really never was a vision because.
Well, Michael's a fun one too because he's kind of, I wouldn't say he's portrayed differently in different movies, but he definitely operates a little differently.
No,
in
he's
some of
portrayed
them, yeah.
very differently in the movies. I would go against that because I think as much as I enjoyed Halloween 2018, it's gotten worse over time when I start thinking about what they really did there, especially that opening scene. Listen, I'm going on a little bit of a tangent here, but the one thing that really they just got wrong off the bat was saying he had some sort of connection with the mask.
Yeah.
And it's literally as simple as this is a mask that that he grabbed off the shelf. That's it. Like,
to me, the most interesting thing about that movie is, I mean, it's this thing that the legacy sequels always do, where it's like they kind of have the context of the whole
other
franchise,
films, even though they chose to ignore all
in
of
the
them.
movie. So it's like Michael is that Michael from the whole franchise, literally.
In a way.
In a way, the Halloween 2018 Michael is Michael from the whole franchise combined into one. But the movie is a straight sequel to the original.
And he ignores
So
everything.
that makes no sense.
Well, I think one huge thing that they also did so wrong, and I'll end my thing with the mask. The thing that I mean is, like, I do love the shot in it when he gets the mask back. He kind of touches it, and there's something there. It does mean something to him in some way, but I don't like there being any sort of, like, supernatural connection to it, or, like, even the people in the mental institution, they could feel like the evil because of it. Like, it was so bizarre.
You're just getting mad because you don't like the new Halloween trilogy, but regardless of the quality.
No, but
regardless of the quality of the new trilogy, is Michael not still the most iconic horror villain of all time?
Yeah, I think
He is.
All I'm trying to say is I think those movies hurt
Hurt the legacy a
hurt
little
the
bit.
legacy a little bit.
I still don't think it hurt it enough to say that he's not the greatest of all time.
Yeah. No,
He is.
I agreed, and there's still something about him that I think I don't want to see right away more Halloween, but there's something that still brings me back to the franchise. I think there's never been a good Halloween movie besides the first movie, but yeah, there's something about this character that is so fun to watch.
Yeah.
And yeah, the last thing I'll mention, something that they did so wrong with Michael was really just making it a fact that he got caught after the events of the first film.
You have a lot of gripes with that new trilogy, man. We could talk for days about this.
I'm sorry to just make this all about Halloween, but that's the thing where they got the current Michael Myers, and the reason we couldn't even include him in the current, icon list, because they further demystified him with the Gordon Green trilogy in a different way.
Modern day, I don't really think much franchises have done a good job, except for the one I'm going to talk about next, because I'm picking a main character from it that doesn't really have anything, because I think this is the best modern horror franchise. They've done a good job keeping it go. But if I'm going to add to the Mount Rushmore for my 4 horror icons of all time, this is the most interesting pick, I think, too. But he deserves to be up there. Ash Williams from The Evil Dead.
Oh, wow. I thought you were going to say Ghostface.
No, not Ghostface. I don't really love the new Scream movies, but Evil Dead, it's been pretty damn consistent even in the modern day. Like,
well, one thing that has to be said, and it's funny, we were just talking about this yesterday, I think. Ash, this is a franchise that it got rebooted. And we moved on, in a way, from Ash.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like people were saying, we're going to get Evil Dead 4, like, for the longest time. No, but people love the character.
Yeah,
And
I love the character.
We are so thankful that, even though it got canceled, we got 3 seasons of Ash, fighting the Evil Dead again. Ash versus Evil Dead.
And as I was saying, he's an interesting pick here because, he's really the only hero I'm going to throw on this Rushmore. Like, it's usually going to be the villains, but
But horror fans, there's a reason they throw him in with the likes of Jason and Freddy. And listen, that was going to happen once. Ash was going to fight him. Freddy versus Jason versus Ash would have followed up.
Would have been
Freddy versus
awesome. I
Jason.
mean, there's a comic book. Go read it, but it's not very good.
The script is not the greatest thing I've ever read, and I've read even the book, but there was a lot. They wanted to bring back a lot of characters from the franchise, and even Ash and bringing in Army of Darkness with all that other stuff.
Yeah,
I think it would have been interesting to see him actually fight some other icons.
Oh, but
And also
he deserved
interact
to.
with other icons, like I'm saying, like Tommy Jarvis would have been in it, and
There's
interesting
a reason. I mean, there's a reason I'm throwing him on here, but most people probably wouldn't because he deserved to fight these icons. He deserved to have crossovers with other franchises and stuff. But as Bruce Campbell has said, the work that they put into actually having him cross over with Freddy and Jason is the producers at New Line Cinema are like, right when they started mentioning that Ash would potentially kill one of these other characters or come out on top.
Yeah.
They kind of just shut all doors on that because it's about money. It's about making sequels to these movies. I still think they could have found a way. Come on, he
Yeah,
could
he
kill
could have
them and they
found
could
a
come
way.
back.
He could have
Whatever.
found a way to
like-
just win.
Yeah, he could. Ash always wins. There's no
Yeah,
scenario
that's
where Ash
that's the
loses.
point of the character.
Let's be real. But there's always scenarios where Freddy loses and Jason loses. They
And
could
they
have
come
found a
back.
way. Come on, they'll come back. Whatever.
They both kind of lose in Freddy vs. Jace. Like,
exactly like,
Like,
and
in a
they
way.
both come back.
and they're both taking it by the end of that.
I refuse to believe they couldn't find some middle ground there. But you know what's done is done. We're not going to see that ever.
But in
yeah.
the end of the day, we're very satisfied. Oh, I am at least with where they took Ash in the end of the
Oh yeah, I think the entire Evil Dead franchise is really solid. I don't think
There's never been a bad
There's
entry.
never been a bad movie. There's never been a bad show. Anything. It's all been really solid. I mean, maybe you could pick out a comic or something, but all the
live action
media
has been
we've gotten from Evil
solid.
Dead, at least for me, because it is an acquired taste, I happen to really enjoy. It's one of my
Yeah,
favorite
no.
horror
If you watch the
franchises.
first movie and you don't like it, don't watch any of them.
yeah.
Like, don't. I mean, it is what it is.
Oh yeah, we recently watched the remake with two of our roommates, and they hated it. They loathed it. They did not like he said it was one of my roommates said it was one of the worst things he's ever watched.
It was their
But
first
for
Evil
me,
Dead
I love
film,
it.
though, and for me, I love the franchise, and the reboot isn't my favorite of it, but I think it just gets so much right. It has so much more merit to it than like the Nightmare reboot and the Friday reboot, because like it gets all the beats that you want from an Evil Dead movie while also doing a completely different story. They knew they wouldn't match Ash. They knew they couldn't bring out a new version of that. Mm-hmm. So they did something pretty different. And I will say, I like I'll call her the protagonist of it in a way. Yeah, but I like, who ends up at the end of it, is what I'll say. It's an interesting movie to talk about because of how they do everything, but very effective reboot. And it led to more, and the franchise is still going. So you're right. I think Ash Williams, for what, he kind of established a super solid franchise, and also like the Cabin in the Woods archetype kind of like became super well known and familiar, iconic because of Evil Dead.
Yeah, 100%.
We wouldn't have a lot of other movies without Ash Williams. So he definitely great pick. I agree.
Thank you.
Because I think if I really thought about it, I'd probably get to him as well.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on a little bit. So I think my next pick. Honestly, I mentioned it, and it's weird picking this because it's not exactly a character; it's a persona.
Mm-hmm.
I got to go with Ghostface though,
Yeah.
and many people have taken on the mantle of Ghostface. I'd say my favorites are definitely the original two, Billy and Stu.
Yeah.
But there's obviously been a lot of great versions. I think 4 great stuff there. Not the most memorable characters, but I do like the reveal of the Ghostface in that movie. There's a lot.
And of course, you have Billy's mother. I
course.
mean, that's a great one as well.
Billy's mother.
That's a really
Scream
good
2
one.
is a great,
Scream 2.
great call.
Say what you want about Scream 2 and Scream 3. I mean, say what you want about any Scream movie, but they differ in quality, but they're all so fun. It's the most fun you're going to get out of horror movies.
And listen,
Like, come
Ghostface,
on.
I'd say is the character on this Rushmore that is the least scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's bumbling around. He's usually tripping.
You're laughing at a lot
falling,
of what
getting.
you
He's
see
usually
Ghostface
getting his
do.
ass kicked. Actually, Ghostface gets pieced up a lot.
But there is a lot of there's a lot of straight stream copies themselves. There's a lot of just like I Know What You Did Last Summer and all that, but just Ghostface, and I guess the rapport that he has. Again, this is another villain that you do get to hear a lot of. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it's a voice changer and all that, and you get the reveal by the end of it. It's different once it's revealed, obviously. But once you have Ghostface, with the guy who reads the lines, I'm blanking on his name right now, but if you research that, he's been back in every single film. He's done it every time, and it's always a blast to hear new Ghostface stuff. Because even though I didn't like 5 and 6, 6 finally showed Gale, a character from the first movie, finally interacting with someone with the voice changer. There's always new possibilities to do fun, different things with Ghostface. It's all I really mean. And I am actually excited to see Scream 7, which will, I guess, bring back a lot of the Ghostfaces that we've seen in the past, like from the franchise, like Stu, and I don't know exactly how they're going to be brought back yet, but hopefully better than how they brought back Billy in 5 and 6, a more effective way than that.
Yeah, and you're thinking of Roger L. Jackson for the voice of
Yes,
Ghostface.
thank you for
And he's
thank
a
you for
goat.
looking that up.
I mean,
he has
voiced
been
them
back
in every
for
single
every
one.
single
Yeah.
Scream film, and I'm sure he'll be back for 7.
And that adds to the iconicness of this
Exactly.
character.
I
without a
will
doubt.
say he's such a big reason as the voice is such a big reason as to why people think it's iconic. You just hear the voice, it's Ghostface.
Yeah, right off the bat.
It's synonymous with the character, so really that voice can never really change. Mm-hmm. And I am happy it hasn't. I'm excited. I'm always excited to see more Scream. And even I agree with you. I didn't love the direction of 5 and 6. And I will say it's a little weird, how we ended up with what's going on with 7, all that. I'm not going to mention anything there, but I am excited. I think I'm excited to. This is one of the only franchises that's going back kind of on a requel, where like Sydney was pushed aside, and now she's just back.
Yeah, this
And
is something we've never really seen before.
Never seen that before for a horror franchise. Well, maybe not never, but it's rare.
To be fair, if you count kind of H2O, whatever, there's a bit of
Or even New Nightmare in a way. Like
it's happened, but
not
not really
really,
how in the way this has happened.
yeah, it's
you know?
very intriguing.
It's one continuous story, and now Sydney's coming back. It's definitely very
Yeah, so
interesting.
Ghostface would be my pick. But
Cool.
let's
I'm gonna
move on.
Keep moving the train along.
Yeah.
I would be upset if I didn't throw this guy on the list. Say what you want about the franchise, but Chucky's going on here.
That was my pick.
I absolutely love Chucky, and another
one of the longest running
Yeah.
horror villains, because again, this actually is someone else who also got rebooted, but he still continued.
Yeah,
on
his
going.
original story is, they just canceled the series, but his original story was still continuing till today, which is nuts. I mean, this is a character that, debuted in the 80s.
Yeah, it's
Not the
crazy.
90s, late 80s, and his story continued into the 2020s.
And also, unlike a lot of these other icons we've talked about, Chucky's really the only one that for this, straight line of main Chucky, it's the same writer, Don Mancini.
yeah, Don Mancini,
It's
that
his
entire
baby.
team, his entire team has been around.
They've just handled this character, and they've brought him through so many different eras. Where like even when you got some some duds
Some
in there,
clear
Seed
misses,
of Chucky,
yeah.
you gotta respect that they kind of swung for that.
Yeah.
Because following up that movie, Seed of Chucky,
Well,
straight
think about
comedy,
Seed of Chucky.
got cursed.
Seed of Chucky is one of those movies where they know the iconicness of the character,
And it was
and
more-
they're,
yeah, it's kind
they're
of a parody
working
of
with it. It's like they were working with like how beloved Chucky had gotten
become,
to that point.
yeah.
And still to this day, I still love Chucky.
But
There's so
they
much
don't
great stuff in
stray.
the
They do
franchise.
not stray away from even their blunders. They completely
Oh, yeah.
go in on the lore that they established, and they don't go back on anything.
Yeah,
I
they don't go
respect
back on
that.
anything. I definitely respect
Mancini,
that.
yeah, I think
sure.
he'll know. There's a few moments there where he missteps, but kind of just has fun with what he's established.
Yeah,
And I
he's
respect
not
that.
one of those writers that's like going to correct it in the next
And
one.
we've
It's-
seen a lot.
It's going to continue.
especially in the show. They played around with a lot with what you can do with the voodoo and
Mm-hmm.
the Chucky dolls themselves. Obviously, following the films, we entered the show with a bunch of different Chuckies existing.
Yeah.
Which was interesting. I didn't love that, but I will say how they handled it was decent.
Yeah.
Listen, it's Chucky. It's not. We know what it is.
You don't
and
need to look
I was
too much
just
into
happy
it. Yeah.
that he was able to continue even on the small screen for what little we got. Or I'd say 3 seasons.
It's a franchise that even from day one there were people that are like, what is this, why are we watching this? Like I literally often think of like the Siskel and Ebert review of the original Two Child's Play, where they're just like, this is made for someone, not for us. Like,
Yeah.
like people knew it right away. It was like,
It's even more so than The Evil Dead. Like,
Yes.
it is such an acquired taste, and I think if you by Child's Play 2 or 3, if you love Chucky, like you're gonna enjoy most of the movies in this franchise, even the
Yeah.
more bizarre ones, just because you love the concept of this character.
100%.
And I will say, it's been great to see Brad Dourif continue to play this character since '88.
Yeah.
And which I will say I love the first two the most, but I really do love this franchise. I love coming back to it every Halloween. I love watching it all the time. I was pleasantly surprised with the show.
Yeah, actually, the show is actually pretty enjoyable.
And speaking of honestly jumping into my pick for the next one, I think I'd go Voorhees. And it's interesting to mention as well. The Friday the 13th, franchise is entering the TV space now as well.
Yeah.
Which isn't going to mainly focus on Voorhees because, yes, you start this franchise with his mom being the killer. So it might delve into their relationship a little bit. I don't really know what they're doing with that. But I am happy to say that they're at least developing, which will now be the 13th movie in Friday the 13th. They're finally making a new film since, we've been waiting 16 years since 2009, which I actually think is a solid, at least, fun romp, at least, not fun romp, but it's a fun, quick, it's kind of like a rehash of the first 3 movies in a way. But it does some fun stuff with Jason, and it was a good interpretation of the Jason character. He moved faster.
Yeah.
He was more threatening. He was kind of the most scary he's ever been, to be honest. But not showing the zombiness and all that. It was pulling back to the basics, while also kind of introducing a slightly different interpretation of Jason, which I appreciated.
Yeah.
It looks like we're gonna get another version of him. Now that Jason universe has been established, which I don't know if I love so far, the design and all that, but Jason's one of my horror icons, and there's been 12 films already, and we want more. It's kind of crazy. I think there's still a huge space to bring him back, especially since it's been 16 years.
Yeah.
I honestly wouldn't even mind. I'm not gonna say a continuation of Freddy vs. Jason, but another versus film. You want to have fun with that? I think there's so much stuff you can do. Even
Well,
with,
generally, like
with Jason
I'm
stuff.
sitting here thinking about my next pick right now, and it's tough because I want to go like Alien or Predator right now, but I kind of want to keep them away because it's like the sci-fi horror, like it's the kind of keep it a little separate. So I kind of want to go maybe another slasher here, or someone a little bit more attuned to kind of the horror genre itself.
Yeah.
So I'm probably gonna go a little more classic here and go Norman Bates, and I just want to throw a Hitchcock character into there because there's no denying how much he really affected this genre at the end of the day, and really dictated what the future of it was going to be. And
We're talking about which Norman are we talking about?
we're not talking about the '90s.
We're not talking about Vince Vaughn
We're not talking about the Vince Vaughn interpretation.
or the TV show.
I mean, the TV
Which people
show,
like. People like. It was actually
no, the TV show
way
actually,
better than that.
I'm talking. I'm talking about the OG. Anthony Perkins.
Yeah.
Hitchcock, Psycho, which I feel like still has done so much for this genre and really kind of just dictates what a horror movie should be, and good twist in a horror movie, and also just good filmmaking in a horror movie. Hitchcock is the person, in my opinion, who proved horror can really be a genre that can win awards and be as prestigious as the other genres.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, there's still so much in Psycho that I'd say holds up so well.
That is one of my favorite rewatches.
Most
period.
of Hitchcock's stuff, it does hold up.
Seriously,
very
I
well.
think all of his
Psycho
horror,
is such
especially
an
all of his
effective
horror
film.
movies. I love The Birds. I love Psycho. There's so much good stuff in his horror that it still translates so well to now.
Yeah.
I love watching all of his.
And obviously, the ending of Psycho is just cemented Bates' legacy as an icon. I would agree on that.
100%.
It's such an iconic ending, and honestly, if you're listening to this, you haven't watched Psycho in a minute, rewatch it, and I will say, it holds up pretty well. Especially, I mean, you got to watch it with the context of when it came out, and knowing that, but knowing that, it's like you're kind of shocked with how effective it really is.
Yeah.
And I will say you mentioned you didn't want to pick Alien and Predator, but I do want to mention I think the Xenomorph probably would have made my cut.
It probably would have been the Gaucho for me. That's why I was like, I want to avoid it.
But I will say, just like Psycho, Alien is a film that has held up so well.
Yeah.
Since it is released.
Well, I will give you
insane
this.
how well
I definitely lean more towards Alien being a horror movie than Predator. However, they both are horror movies.
100% agreed.
Definitely
No,
both horror
Alien is
movies,
like
but which
actually kind of a straight horror movie.
Yeah, which is scarier movie? Which was a scary movie to people when it came out? Definitely Alien. So
Well, I think we have to also mention, horror icons. Like, we can't not mention the Universal monsters.
yeah, I
Like,
mean the actual
We're talking,
the OG
like, we really delved into
icons.
slashers, killers, stuff like that. You didn't even mention Ash.
Yeah, these are our horror icons, but yeah, it'd be tough not to mention the real goats. The
I just want to
Wolfman,
mention, I think
Frankenstein.
Lugosi's Dracula obviously stands out, and the monster from Frankenstein stands out as well. I think those would be my pick for the most iconic there. But obviously, all the Universal monsters, they're so iconic.
Yeah.
They have to be pointed out. But yeah, I think if one of them was to make mine, it would be Dracula. But I think the actual thing I guess, entity that's going to make my, or icon that's going to make the end of my Rushmore, I think I got to go with Reagan.
Mm.
And I think...
I thought you were going to go Jack Torrance. See, I thought you were going to go Jack.
I was.
thought right when I said Norman, you were going to
I
think
was
Jack
gonna-
and be like, I
was
got to throw him
leaning
in
Jack.
there.
No, it was in my head, Jack Torrance, and I think it gets close. But I think for what Reagan did for pretty much the genre of it's The Exorcist, but just how it inspired, exorcism movies, and kind of just like how we were fascinated with creepiness within kids.
Mm-hmm.
Reagan on image, and just appearance. It's tough. Now that you mentioned Jack, I'm like, it's like equal in a way for me.
No, I think Reagan's a good
Because
pick.
they're
Don't
both so
have
iconic,
me
but
sway
I
you.
gotta stick with Reagan because we even mentioned the Evil Dead, something like how Reagan acts kind of inspired, the demons there, and a lot of the things, it all kind of a lot of the exorcism stuff that we see today. That's obviously very, it's clearly inspired by The Exorcist, but the interpretation of it, that first version we saw, it was so shocking to people because no one ever seen something like that, a demon acting that way, people thought that it was straight blasphemy.
I mean, you also
for
just
good
got to think
reason.
about
There's some crazy things said.
What Linda Blair threw into that
I
performance.
know, that's what I'm
it's
saying.
Absolutely ridiculous. I mean, she was, I think, 14 at the time,
Yeah.
maybe 12, 13 when she was filming it. And it's not her voice, but the action she does, everything she does she got an Oscar nomination for this role.
Honestly, forgot about that. So yeah, it's so
Unbelievable.
such a deserved pick. Honestly, I'm
one
picking
of the
her.
best child performance, maybe still to this day the best child.
The
performance
stuff
of all
that
time.
Pazuzu says is just so. I mean, for the time, even now, it's so shocking. It really is. Again, it's probably why I enjoy The Evil Dead a lot and stuff. It is shock value, hearing stuff like that, but it is extremely effective horror.
I often try to think about the 70 being alive. If I were to be alive in 73, what that reaction really would have been like. Because there was nothing like The Exorcist up until that point, especially in the
People were
dialogue,
throwing
and
up and
presentation.
passing out because,
Exactly, because they had never seen something remotely close to that.
Yeah, a lot of people question why today. It's definitely outdated and all that, but still things in that movie that are really shocking.
Oh yeah,
and I think her is my pick. Yeah, I'm gonna cement it. That's my fourth pick. I think, and I honestly I haven't seen the newer Exorcist. I don't plan on ever watching it. Clearly, it's still heavily inspired by Reagan, and how she is the face of the franchise in some way besides the Exorcist himself.
Yeah, I mean, if for anyone listening right now and hasn't seen the Exorcist franchise, please do yourself a favor and watch that original. But you could watch Exorcist 3 and have a pretty good time too.
Yeah, I will say,
very different story,
not,
whatever. But it's I like Exorcist 3. It's
I'd say for a movie that doesn't even involve Reagan too, it continues the story of the other stuff going on, The Exorcist,
and obviously they know that The Exorcist can still work. They tapped Flanagan to make a new one.
They spent a ton of money,
and they're still spending money on it even after Believer did terrible. I mean, it tanked.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you about. Thank you. You remind me what it was called. Exorcist Believer's the last release.
Yeah.
I mean, I've only heard the worst from it, and it's following. David Gordon Green of Halloween trilogy. He made that, so I was like, I'm clearly not watching this. But I heard Reagan's in it.
She is.
What do you know have you seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it.
What happens?
She's in it for a good maybe 5
Oh,
seconds.
we're gonna spoil this movie here, guys, because I'm genuinely curious.
I mean, Chris McNeil is actually a pretty central character in it.
So her mom is a huge.
Her
character.
mom is a big character in the movie. She's kind of that legacy character that just comes back to explain what's going on. But
oh wait a minute, I feel like you told me. Doesn't she get her eyes gouged out?
She gets her eyes gouged out. Chris McNeil in the movie. So
okay, I think I did remember.
And
the
stakes are terrible too. It's so unearned, whatever. But anyways, she's in the hospital at the end of the movie, and who would go visit her other than her daughter? So Reagan shows up.
How do you even know it's her?
It's just she sits there and she knows it's her, even though she has no eyes. Whatever. It doesn't matter.
She just says
she's
Reagan.
just like Reagan,
Okay, but yes, listen. I think there was a reason. We got to mention Exorcist 2 before we wrap this up because the studio saw the fascination with Reagan and how marketable that character kind of was.
Yeah.
Because they didn't revert back to kind of the real main characters of The Exorcist until the third. Mm-hmm. It was a bizarre film about Pazuzu and Reagan again. And yeah, because of how that turned out, we never really got more exploration with Reagan. Mm-hmm. So I just thought it was interesting the fact that she did come back.
Yeah,
in this recent film.
it was interesting. I mean, that movie is just not nearly good enough for me to care.
But I will say, I do want to point out, I don't really consider those as actual I've never really seen the full things there. I'm really just considering Reagan off that first film.
Yes.
It's that iconic.
No, it is that iconic.
And
You're right.
Is that influential where that is why she's.
It's the same thing with Norman Bates. I don't really think about Psycho 2, even though Psycho
Some
2
people like
actually
it. Yeah,
is
some
kind of
people like
interesting. However, I'm thinking about Norman Bates in that first film. That's where his iconicness comes from, and that's where everyone will always look.
The other icons here that they didn't get their icon status until later in their franchise.
Yeah, sometimes it takes time, but sometimes it's immediate.
For our last two picks, it's just clear right off the bat.
Honestly, now that I think about it, I'm happy that these were the last two picks because these are the perfect examples of just immediately people knew how iconic, or not that they knew they'd be iconic, but immediately it captured the attention of people and they worked, immediately.
Agreed. And I honestly, I like the picks we did. We got two solid different Mount Rushmores.
We have gone through a ton of icons today, but I really think we've had some great picks. Who'd we miss though, guys? Is there anyone else that we have not mentioned here?
Especially
today?
from the
There's
current
definitely
day
a bunch.
Hey, there's a bunch.
Especially modern. Please let me know who do you think are the new modern horror icons, because that's where I wouldn't say we're struggling, but it's pretty interchangeable right now. There's no clear choices for that. So let us know. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll catch you guys on the next episode.